5.
4.
That's my job, dude.
Oh.
4.
My lips are sealed.
3, 2, 1. We are live. Coming to you live. It's Office Hours with Professor Allan J. Lichtman. Episode number 1.
Wow.
The inaugural.
The day is 1. The year is 1.
Thank you to all of our members for being here. It's exciting. It feels like we're really with, the close-knit community here with the members. Don't you think, Dad?
Absolutely. And you have the privilege of asking me anything.
Anything?
Well, don't ask me about the opera.
I knew you were going to say that.
And we'll be okay. But other than that, go ahead and ask me anything. Once again, there's so much going on.
Yeah, true.
So much to query about.
And we've talked a lot, in our we're posting videos every day now. Some quick shout outs to Pam from Northwestern Nevada, Suzanne AP from Asbury Park, New Jersey, Michael Sheffield, Karen Strickler, In Your Face New Yorker, Michelle Martinez says hello from Omaha, Nebraska.
Wow.
Russ Knott, a lot of people.
A lot of people from all over the country, and we have audience from all over the world.
Wow, that's pretty cool. And look, this is going to be even more chill probably than Lichtman Live. We're just taking questions. We're just hanging out with the people. Yes, Alex, first ever members only stream. It's awesome. Suzanne Clark says, hope the shoulder is healing well.
Thank you. It is.
How's it feeling?
Pretty good. It's a long haul.
Yeah.
I've got this on another 2.5, 3 weeks. And then before I can get back to intensive training for the next Olympics, Senior Olympics, of course, probably another 3 months.
Right. Someone asked, where do we find the videos? They're under the video. So if you go to our channel and you click the videos tab, all of our new videos should be right there. Or
you can go to just go to YouTube and search for Lichtman, and they'll come up.
That too. Someone says they're from Glasgow, Delaware. Is that a real place?
Probably so. You
think so?
A lot of
Glasgow.
U.S. place names are named after European places.
It is. Yes. It's a real place.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. You ready to get to some questions? Now, even for these streams, we want to keep it, not totally, we need some structure. So we are posting day of posts on the membership tab on YouTube saying, hey, if you have your questions, put them here. So Savannah's gleaned them all and put them in order. We'll still take donations if you have a question that's burning and you want to make sure it's on air, you can always donate.
Hey, we always appreciate the donations.
Yeah, I see.
But the members are our core.
I see Mom sent a donation, which is kind of recycling your money in a way, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Our first question is from member Tank09. They say, Mike Johnson said this could be the longest shutdown in history. Do you think he's correct? I was in the audience for the CNN town hall with Bernie and AOC last night. Oh, that's interesting. And Bernie said he doesn't think it will be, but I'd like to know your thoughts, Professor. He also said the Dems are winning this fight. Do you agree?
Well, in many ways, it's a very sad fight. It's horrible to have the government shut down. People need their paychecks. People want to work. Right. They don't want to be sitting around. And, of course, with Donald Trump, you never know whether people are ultimately going to get paid or not. He's kind of intimated, I'm only going to maybe not pay those who don't deserve to be paid. Who knows? I think in the end he's going to have to pay people. But with Trump, it could be delayed. And, any delay really hurts people. This is just so cruel. And they're holding out to not provide the renewal of these Affordable Care Act subsidies, which millions, 10 to 20 million people depend upon. If you don't get those renewed, you're going to price people out of their health insurance. I repeat that. And it's not going to be the billionaires like Donald Trump, is it, Sam?
No.
It's just ordinary middle class, working class, less affluent people who are going to have to choose between protecting their health, putting food on their table, taking care of their kids, keeping a roof over their house. They don't care. It doesn't matter to them. These are the folks who've rejected the idea of empathy. Why should we care about anyone other than ourselves?
It's pretty
so
sad.
I don't think it'll be the longest shutdown, but in the era of Trump, you never know. It would be so easy for them to agree to make this essential renewal. It has to happen. Instead, they said, open the government, and then we'll have a vote on it. With no guarantee, of course, that's going to pass, and the Democrats lose all their leverage, and it goes right down the drain. That's Hobson's choice. Two bad choices.
Who's Hobson?
Hobson is someone who talked about having two bad choices.
Oh, okay. Greg Politis donated $80.
Wow.
Thank you, Greg. They say, is, quote, office hours the new show instead of Lichtman Live? What kind of things will you be covering on the new show? So, Office Hours is the name of the new members-only stream. So, members-only streams will now be called Office Hours. This is episode 1. On this show, it's much more chill. We're just kind of reading the chat. We're also taking questions in the same format we did at the end of Lichtman Live. So, we're posting a post on YouTube Thursday morning saying, put your questions here, put them there, and hopefully they'll get on the show.
We'll be posting all week because we're posting Mondays and Thursdays.
Ignore what he said. Just listen to what I'm saying. Okay. Well, I was about to say something else. If we go live to the public, those will be Lichtman Lives. Capiche?
Yes,
Capiche.
And those will be special, like election night or speeches, things like that.
This is from John Rogers. They say, Dr. Lichtman, if men and women serving in the military take an oath to protect the Constitution, why haven't they gone against Trump and refused to invade the cities of the country? This country?
It's a very good question. And in part, one can excuse them and say, they're not constitutional lawyers. It's not necessarily a blatant violation of the Constitution. I think it is, and a number of judges have found that, but the Supreme Court has yet to rule on this. Plus, what do you think is going to happen to you if you are an ordinary member of the military and you go against Donald Trump? What kind of future are you going to have, Sam?
You'll get a boot up your ass. It's the American way.
Exactly.
A lot of people in the chat want you to talk about voting rights. Do you want to tell them that you can't talk about it?
I'm involved as an expert witness in a number of voting rights cases. So unfortunately, I cannot talk about any voting rights cases. But I can simply tell you that this Louisiana case before the Supreme Court is very pivotal in terms of whether the Voting Rights Act will survive. But, you've heard that all over the place, not just from me. I'm not giving away any inside information.
Right. So unfortunately on this channel in general, we're not going to be able to talk about it. Sorry.
But I'll be trying to do good work as an expert.
Good work, Dad.
Yeah. I'm working on my stuff as we sit here.
You got all these papers here. Is there a reason why?
Just in case anyone wants to bring up the chat among the young Republicans.
We
didn't hear what we posted earlier.
We did have a 21-minute video already on that, but
just in case.
This is office hours, so we can chat about anything.
Yeah. I like to be accurate, as you know.
Quick correction. I said Greg Politis. It's George Politis with the $80 donations.
That's an important correction.
That is an important correction. This one is from Barbandry. They say, do you think the press, who are now locked out of the Pentagon for not signing the muzzle pledge, will gather information from other means? What do you think they will be doing now to get news out of the Pentagon?
Yeah, I think they absolutely did the right thing. They were not going to let themselves, including conservative outlets like, I think you told me, Newsmax and Fox News, right, Sam?
Correct.
They're not going to let themselves be turned into Russian state media, which is exactly what Pete Hegseth wanted them to become, only reporting the propaganda that he hands them. So, yes, they will have other sources of information from retired military or military that were booted out, or from congressional staffers, or from military members with a conscience, whistleblowers who are willing to tell things to the press. Remember, there is supposedly a whistleblower statute. Doesn't seem to have much effect under Trump, but whistleblowers are supposed to be protected from retaliation. So they've done the right thing. I'm not an investigative reporter, but I think I've listed various ways in which I'm confident they will get information.
I see President Belichick in the chat. I feel like I haven't seen him in a while. Do you remember him?
Welcome.
I feel like he was on like our first ever stream.
He was one of our first presidents.
Yeah, I remember him from way back.
Yeah.
Michael Yu says, please discuss the U.S. federal form of government, the role of states.
Yeah. Look at Mike Johnson's 7 core principles of conservatism, or the Heritage Foundation's True North, or the Russell Kirk Institute. One of the things they highlight is their commitment to states' rights. And, that's well rooted in the Constitution. Amendment 10 of the Bill of Rights says, power is not granted to the government or reserved to the states. That's pretty vague and pretty broad, but there is some role, obviously, for the states in our government. And despite all those professions and all those claims that they support states' rights, the Trump administration is the most anti-states' rights administration that we've seen in a very long time. Trump said it himself. The states are just agents of the federal government. And like everyone else, they just have to do everything I tell them to do. So if I tell them to change all 50 states to change their laws about mail-in ballots or how you verify registration, then because the states are subordinate to me, they have to do it. Or the states have to give me all of the personal information of their registered voters, including probably Social Security numbers and other highly sensitive information. And they got to do it because the states have no rights. And if I tell them they can't adopt their own laws to protect their environment, they have to listen to me. So like so much else in these so-called conservative professions, it's just something put out there for public consumption that they have no intention of honoring. And all this, Sam, is outlined in my book, Conservative at the Core. I go through every one of the standard conservative professions,
right?
Like states' rights, limited government, fiscal responsibility, law and order, personal morality, and show that's not what they're about, that those are just dispensable ideas for public consumption.
Gotcha.
Free markets, God, how many ways have they trashed free markets? Not just with tariffs. It's a wonderful article I read recently talking about how Trump has adopted essentially crony capitalism, sticking his fingers in the pie of American business. Yeah, it's disgusting. Picking winners and losers. They almost compared what Trump is doing to Chinese state enterprise.
Yikes.
That seems to be the model. So much for free markets.
I don't want Trump's fingers in my pie, that's for sure.
I hope not. Probably he won't be around.
He's around. I could make a pie tomorrow. He'd be here.
He probably would, yeah.
Can you comment on Gavin Newsom's post about his birthday wish list? Now, have you seen this, Dad?
I have not. Have you?
No, but I found it. Let me see if I can bring it up real quick.
Looks like it's there.
Yeah, but I got to bring it up on the screen for the people. Give me 1 second. Here it is. So It says...
I'm going to go through each one. Can they see it, or do you need to read it?
They can see it, but I'll read it as well. Is that okay?
Of course.
It says, happy birthday to me, Gavin C. Newsom. Many say America's most loved, most handsome, and possibly most important governor. My birthday wish list, the best list. No troops in our beautiful cities. No Trump election rigging. None. Beautiful, perfect, fair maps for everyone. Respect for our sacred Constitution. And most important, and a very humble ask, a Nobel Peace Prize. People all over the world are begging me to accept it. Thank you to all the amazing, talented, highly attractive people of California. I love you. Happy birthday to me. Thank you for your attention to this matter. GCN.
What a wonderful satire. What a wonderful mockery of Donald Trump.
It makes you realize how ridiculous Trump is.
How absurd.
Like, when you see any other human post in the format that he posts in, especially an elected official, you're like, holy, this is nuts. And then you're like, wait, This is exactly how Trump posts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. It's wonderful. And Newsom really has, catapulted himself to the very top of contention for the Democratic presidential nomination in 2028. I'm not predicting anything. There's a very long way to go yet. But he has, I think, emerged as probably the most effective critic of Trump because he just strikes the right tone. You can't be heavy-handed with Trump. That doesn't work.
No.
But to mock Trump, that's what he hates.
Yeah.
He has no shame. You can't shame him, but
Right.
you can mock him and get under his skin, and that's exactly what Newsom is doing so brilliantly.
I hadn't seen this. This is now 6 days old. I didn't even...
No, I hadn't seen it either.
It's pretty funny.
Just so much going on. It's perfect. It's pitch perfect.
1.3 million views, 58,000 likes. That's pretty good.
Well, I think we should get 1.3 million views, right?
How?
I'm not sure. You're the technical expert.
Comic fans, thank you for your donation. They asked about the Supreme Court here in the civil rights case. We can't comment on that because he is working on he's working on redistricting cases right now. But they also want to know about the Arizona senator who Mike Johnson won't swear in.
This is just another example of how they're willing to be dishonest, disreputable, treat people differently just because they're in the political opposition. Your swearing in should not depend upon whether you are a member of the majority or minority party. Everyone's elected should be sworn in promptly. They had no trouble immediately swearing in newly elected Republican members of Congress, but they've dragged their feet on this Arizona representative with, again, Mike Johnson is just beneath contempt. He claims to be this ultimate moral Christian man, and he's constantly lying and adopting things that, hurt ordinary Americans, exhibiting the height of hypocrisy. I can't even think of the words. He's come out with one phony excuse after another as to why he won't swear in this woman. It's as tragedies go, there are so many in the Congress and the administration. This isn't one of the major ones, but it's indicative of how they operate. Totally corruptly.
This is from member Miles Wolf. They say, I think AI is going to reduce jobs to such a degree that some form of the democratic socialist model may be necessary to provide income to citizens. Do you agree?
Well, it's not democratic socialism. I've talked about that a lot. It's social democrat. A socialist believes in the takeover of the means of production by the government. That's not what Bernie Sanders or anyone else who calls themselves a democratic socialist. They're really social democrats on the model, for example, of the social democrats in Scandinavia. And providing income assistance is not socialist at all. Richard Nixon tried to get through, when he was president, a form of guaranteed income to the less affluent. It didn't go through, but I don't think Richard Nixon was a socialist. Aiding people in need is not socialism. Far, far from it. It is a sign of a humane, regulated, capitalist society.
But I guess the main question is, do you think AI will take so many jobs that there will be have to be some sort of universal income or something to that
You
nature?
may be more expert on AI than I am.
It's hard to tell. I think AI, generally speaking, has been way overblown. We talked about this the other day.
Yes, we did.
AI has existed essentially since Alan Turing,
Right.
since it's existed
Alan Turing was the genius behind the breaking of the codes in Britain and kind of developed the first modern prototypical computer. But he was persecuted. You know why?
Because he was gay.
Because he was gay. What a tragedy. And I think he committed suicide.
So AI has really existed for 75 plus years now. I think what's different now is there's been tech companies have figured out how to market it really well and deliver it to the masses. Like our computing power is finally meeting the theory of AI, right? But I think overall it's kind of overblown, and I'm not seeing the progress that has been promised to us. I think a lot of what has been promised to us and put fear into us, like we're all going to lose our jobs, has been marketing in a lot of ways. So I'm slowing on my AI taking over the world stance.
I agree.
And I think, every technological revolution, people think that,
right.
And no one's going to have jobs anymore.
Right. The steam engine's going to eliminate all our jobs, And
we're already seeing a lot of corporations who ditched employees moving to AI and then being like, oh, wait, actually, we still need quite a bit of humans to do the work we need to do. So I'm not convinced that AI is going to reduce jobs to such a degree that people just won't have jobs anymore.
I think Sam is right. And, he does put his finger, as I point out, when the steam engine came about, development of electricity, nuclear power. I remember the idea of the peaceful use of the atom would make electricity too cheap to meter. And, would drive all kinds of people out of jobs. And I remember decades ago reading a very, very prominent book called The End of Work, many decades ago, saying advances in computers and automation is going to make work obsolete. And, of course, that hasn't happened. And here's the thing. To extend what Sam says, yes, innovations, technological innovations, may cost some jobs, but they always create more jobs than they lose.
Yeah.
They open up whole new vistas, whole new areas of employment that didn't exist before.
I don't know. I was sort of drinking the AI Kool-Aid for a while, and then actually what started making me think twice about AI was ChatGPT 4 to ChatGPT 5, because I remember OpenAI just, talking it up like, AI is moving at the rate of at 10,000 times faster than you can even imagine, and ChatGPT 5 is going to be 10,000. And I started using ChatGPT 5, and it didn't seem any better.
I didn't think it was any better.
And that's the first time I was like, wait a second, something's up here. And then I started doing more research, and I'm like, wait, AI has existed and been part of everyday life for a long time. Like I said, I think the difference now is it's in the large language model format, which again, in theory, has existed for a long time. Now they're able,
marketed
right now. Yeah. Well, also the computing power is now reaching the theory of it. But it's not like AI. It's more like the theory has always existed, and we're slowly reaching to that theory point. But it's not like once we hit that theory of AI point, suddenly AI. It kind of feels like we're going like this, right? We're reaching the theory of it instead of being at the theory and then moving 10,000.
Right.
If that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah. I use AI even though I'm an old dinosaur.
I use it too.
Has not made me obsolete. Has not taken my job away. It's made me much more productive. I used to have to hire out editors. Now I can, I don't use AI to write, but I do use it to edit, and it edits instantly and, about as well as a human editor. But by me becoming more productive and other people becoming more productive, it adds to the productivity of society and creates jobs, even though, I'm not hiring the occasional editor anymore.
Yeah, I think it's a very good tool, no doubt. And I think it is going to change things a lot.
And in some industries, it may destroy jobs.
Right. And I do agree. I mean, automation, especially in manufacturing, has already, pretty much wiped out the human workforce. I mean, basically, you can make cars with almost totally with robots now, essentially.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Tesla's almost entirely run on robotic
jobs
assembly.
Change. Wasn't that long ago that most American jobs were in agriculture. We're an agricultural society until well into the 20th century. Now, a minuscule fraction of the American workforce is engaged in farming occupations. We switched largely from a more heavily manufacturing economy to a more service technical economy. Things change. Jobs don't remain static. Economies die if they remain static.
Right. All right. Our next question from Diane Kastner. They say, do you think that the No Kings protest will be the single largest in history? I think it will greatly soothe our angst.
Not sure it'll be the single largest. We've had some pretty large ones already, but I think it's going to be up there, and I fully support it, right? And that they hate it because they're already demonizing it, right?
Right.
As some kind of criminal activity. Hey, Donald Trump, I'm sure, has never read the Constitution. He didn't even know as president he had to uphold and defend the Constitution. Didn't know what habeas corpus was. But guess what? The Constitution protects free speech, assembly, and the right to petition your government. It's not un-American. It's as American as apple pie.
Yeah, I think hopefully it'll be a great day. It is making the right really angry. I don't think it's going to soothe their angst. I think things are just going to get worse. I hope
not. I hope you're wrong.
What is this protest? You think this protest is going to stop Trump? No shot.
You got to do.
I don't
do everything.
I agree.
You can.
I agree, but
I can't abandon anything because you think, it's not going to make a difference.
But I think maybe what I'm trying to say is, people should do it. Hit the street, show your voice, but don't expect it's going to fix everything overnight. I guess that's what I'm saying.
I agree with that, but I don't want to dampen anyone's enthusiasm. It's very, very important to vote with your feet. They take notice. It matters.
Right. Let's see.
Very good questions. We've had a great discussion so far.
These office hours will go for about 30 minutes, so we've got about... how long have we been going? I've been going for 26 minutes, so about 4 or 5 more minutes.
Gotcha.
People are telling me not to be so cynical. I'm not trying to be cynical.
I think you are a little too cynical.
I feel like I've told this story a bunch, but I feel like in 2015, 2016, I was on the streets every single day.
I know.
And from that point on, it's only gotten worse in America, so I don't know. This is a $10 donation from Bubba Blazers.
Thank you.
They say, with J.D. Vance basically saying, quote, boys will be boys in his response to the young MAGA chat, doesn't that give young MAGA men the green light to spew vile words?
Absolutely. As reprehensible as that chat was, I would say what J.D. Vance did is equally, maybe more reprehensible, because he is the vice president of the United States. And, he made it sound like just a kid making a joke, right, Sam?
Right.
Well, these were not kids. It was young Republicans in various states across the country over an extended period of time. Thousands of pages were released, and they weren't making any jokes. You don't joke about Hitler. You don't joke about gas chambers. You don't joke about rape. You don't joke about creating showers to kill people. These were not jokes. These were the kinds of things we've only heard in the most brutal, most repressive, most murderous types of society. And to claim it's just kids making jokes is just horrific. Just, as I said, almost as bad as the violation itself, because it does trivialize and normalize it. And J.D. Vance should know better, but apparently couldn't care less. And then the other thing that J.D. Vance did, which was equally horrific, was the whataboutism. It doesn't matter what these kids said, because someone else said something that I think is worse. By that logic, every criminal in America should be freed, right, Sam? Because they can always point to someone else who did something worse.
I would not rest your hat on J.D. Vance logic, I'll tell you that much.
Well, that's why it's so horrific and so twisted and so against a decent society. This thing is horrific unto itself. It doesn't matter what someone else may or may not have done. That is not excuse. That is not a green light. That is not normalizing it.
I agree with you, sir.
And let me also add, as well as these references to Hitler and anti-Semitism and calling gay people the F word and fixing showers and rape, 251 times, according to a compilation by Political. Not once or twice in a joke. 251 times there were derogatory references to people of color, to women, to non-heterosexual people, and to people with disabilities, using the most derogatory, the most scurrilous of language. This is not trivial jokes. This is not one or two, commentaries. This is sustained, brutal. I don't think I've ever heard anything like this in my 78 years, except from the Ku Klux Klan or the neo-Nazis, who, by the way, are all cheering the Trump administration, I'm sure, cheering what these young Republicans had to say, who are all also pledging their allegiance to Trump and trying to, at least for one of them, who's trying to become the head of the national Young Republicans, openly seeking Donald Trump's endorsement, saying Trump all the way. This is not inconsistent with the tone set by this administration. Donald Trump has called black women, including Kamala Harris, low IQ, stupid. He said Harris just turned black for political reasons. He had posted memes of guns, a firing squad pointing at Liz Cheney, of Joe Biden hogtied to the end of a truck, of being body slammed by some wrestler, of calling African countries S-hole countries, of dining openly at Mar-a-Lago with two of the worst anti-Semites in America. This is worse than what we've seen, but it's not, entirely out of character. It's just, a higher degree of what we've already been hearing. And remember, that's also a good witness said, Trump has said, I want generals like Hitler. Well, you know what those Hitler generals did? They machine gunned hundreds of thousands of Jews. It's not true that all the Jews died in the gas chambers. Most did, but a huge number were machine gunned by roving killing squads. One of the heads, one of the Hitler generals that he likes, General Oberdorf, at the Nuremberg war crimes trials, was asked, why were you killing everyone, women, children, not just men? He said, that was our orders. We were especially ordered to kill women and children because we didn't want Jews to reproduce. We wanted to wipe them off the face of the earth. That's the kind of generals you want.
Thank you to Andy Haas for your $5 donation. They say, I've always loved seeing you live. By the way, did you see my earlier comment?
I didn't, but you may have.
Your earlier comment. I see on this episode something about Joe Biden could have won in 2016. He says, Joe Biden could have won in 2016, but I think the best running mate for him would have been a woman. Well, he didn't run in 2016, so we'll never know.
Never know.
Also, thank you to Lori Robinson for a $10 donation. She says, what do you think will happen and be the result of the firings of the special education staff at the Department of Education?
If it holds, and, there has now been a ruling by at least one court which said these firings are illegal. You cannot use a government shutdown as an excuse for firing people without cause. It doesn't work that way. We are a country of laws, and you can't violate the law in that way. But it would be horrific for struggling special education students who do need the aid and the attention. Once again, cruel to no end. And by the way, speaking of cruel, I've read reports that in some of the poorest countries in the world, children are suffering, perhaps even dying, because we've cut off USAID medical assistance, right? Supposedly to save money. And yet, what's he doing with $40 billion, or at least proposing to do it? That could save countless lives in Africa.
Building a ballroom.
No, that's $400 million.
Bailing out Argentina.
Bailing out Argentina, of all things.
And it's funny because wasn't Argentina, especially in the early days of Doge, weren't they sort of the model of how you deal with the government? Like they were making all these cuts and they were doing so well, and then suddenly they need to be bailed out.
Crashing and burning. Yeah. Unbelievable that that's what he's willing to spend money on, and not for saving the lives and suffering of children.
No doubt. All right, with that, we will wrap up episode 1 of Office Hours. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to all of our members. If you haven't liked this stream, go ahead and throw it a like. Just to clarify our new format, because someone asked that, Ben England asked that. the new format is there will be new videos every single day, maybe even 2 videos a day. So make sure you're keeping an eye out for those videos. And then on Thursday nights, we will be having these member streams, office hours. When necessary, for example, election night or State of the Unions, we will be doing Lichtman Live to the public. Pretty straightforward, right, Dad?
Absolutely.
I don't know what you were talking about earlier, Mondays and Thursdays. I have no idea what you're talking about.
But I will say, great questions.
Yes.
Keep them coming. And, we try to answer all of your questions as best we can. We don't know everything. I had not seen that Gavin Newsom thing, for example.
But it was
and
funny.
We'll also try to give you real depth and historical perspective.
Gotcha. All right, folks. See you. Do you have any final words for the people, Dad?
Yes, I encourage you to vote with your feet and get out to that demonstration. Every little bit helps.
Good night.
Good night.